All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the True Life Podcast. I hope you understand how much of a miracle we have right here. We've had some technical difficulties, but I have the one and only Dr. Sophia Edwards-Bennett, who's written an incredible book. And I'm not just saying that because it's an incredible book, but I promise you, if you take the time to read it, you will understand the pose and the poetry and the message that comes with it. Without any further ado, The Path to Soul Immunity, Soul Currency for Life with the Big C. Dr. Sophia Edwards-Bennett, thank you for being here today. How are you?
Thank you for having me, George. It is indeed my pleasure. And I love your enthusiasm. It is contagious. It is contagious. And thanks for the compliments. Thanks for the compliments. It really does mean that I am synchronized with my soul and my spirit. So my spirit feeds my soul. So there's the big capital S spirit that feeds the common S spirit that's within me. And then, of course, that transmits to my soul. So if I am in synchrony with all the aforementioned, then connecting to my mission and to my purpose, then it will actually touch the lives that it was meant to touch, because we are all born with the purpose already placed inside us. It's needs to be sometimes activated, though. And so when I discuss my experiences, so the first half of my book, I talk about my experience, the adversities I faced. And I do believe that when we are blessed, or we are the gifts that have been deposited within us, that need to be unveiled, or purpose or a mission, it needs to be triggered. There needs to be a stimuli, there needs to be a catalyst. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's adversity, and that was the case for me. But when we experience such adversities, it is not just a lesson for us to build our soul immunity, to gain our soul currency, but it is to disseminate to others so that they can apply it and also recognize their own path, right? Because as I see in the book, our path is ours and ours alone. Your path is yours and yours alone. Mine is mine and mine alone. Your path, my friends, cannot be cloned. But we can use we can use others' experience to then excavate and unveil the lessons from our own. And we can use the strength that others have gained and their experience to to inform our response, right? To help to dictate our response to our own adversities. So,
That's so well said. Were you born with this gift of using your linguistic abilities to paint pictures for people? Like, how do you do this?
that's okay. So, my melanin does not allow you to see that I'm blushing.
It's a gift. It's so beautiful.
But thank you so much. Well, all good gifts come from above. But as I said, when you have a gift, sometimes it needs to be activated.
Mhm.
And I can tell you that I was equipped somewhat because my mom, as I wrote in my book, my mom was a teacher. And interestingly enough, uh, she really fostered, instilled in us, all three of us, my brothers, Teddy and Gary, and myself, the love for words. So when we would sit around the dinner table, right, we 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 had to recite 5 synonyms for any word that she would just, I mean, she would quiz us around the dinner table, and she would say, okay, what, name 5 synonyms. It didn't have to be, it doesn't have to be complex words, but she wanted us to think about not only the synonyms, but also how they can be used in different contexts, because even though words are synonyms, right? There is a certain synonym that is used in a certain context that fits perfectly, that doesn't fit in another context. And so that is how that palette, right, for
Right.
words was actually developed, I think, for sure, that is how. And when you think about how we analyze our lives, we live our lives prospectively, but we analyze retrospectively, right? So when you're going through these experiences, when we were sitting at the dinner table, I did not foresee that I would be writing a book, right? And talking to you today, right? But this is why it's important to serial retrospectively analyze, not just go through life without thinking back and recognizing, right, why certain things were placed in your life, the gifts or it in our armamentarium or toolbox that we need to use when we face difficult circumstances. It is only then, when we analyze and we sit in it and process that, and let it marinate, that is actually when we recognize what we have. Because there's so many people we meet with so many gifts, and they don't recognize it. Just like I mentioned with my patients, they don't see the courage,
Mm.
they don't see the strength, the tenacity that they have, right? We don't see ourselves. That's why we need a mirror, right? And so they need us to inform them of what they have that they can't see. And then they can use that as a baseline moving forward once they complete the course of radiation, to inform their decisions thereafter, to dictate how they sit in it and what they can glean from the experience. I tell my patients not to try to forget the experience, but unveil, excavate, completely just glean everything they can from the experience, all the soul currencies, because they will learn so much more about themselves from the adversities. And that's why I juxtapose my life with the my cancer patients, so that they can see how it's different but somewhat akin, and at times intertwined.
Wow, it's really well said. I am actually one of those people who say, "Why me? Why me?" Like, I've had some of those traumas, so thank you.
Ah,
Why me? That's like the siren call to see the gift in front of you, right?
yes, yes. Why me? And the thing, you know, the do you know that I wrote that prose? That was the last prose I wrote. I wrote the book,
Right.
and I did not feel, I wasn't released. I don't know if you know what I mean. I couldn't release myself to publish the book. And I woke up, I usually do, around 2 a.m. in the morning. This is when my light bulb moments,
Mhm.
I mean, I usually have these light bulb moments at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. And I woke up, and I started writing about, because the thing is, when the message that I wanted to convey, it was all there. But how do we then I wanted a culmination of the message. And I think that why me, the prose why me, says it perfectly. And no self-approbation here, because really I'm always inspired by him, with a capital H. And so when I wrote why me, I thought about all the experiences that I've been through, all the experiences that others that we know of, right? We know of so many people who have been through adversities, and we know, as you so astutely stated, that question is always, why me? I know I asked myself that question when I lost my mom at the age of 13. Why me? Why would you do this? Why, you ask him, you ask yourself, and there is no immediate response, right? But again, retrospective analysis is the key, because at the end of that, the question then is, why not you? Why not you? Because when you go through, you see, it means that you are at the other end now. Going through means that you're going from one end to the next. And when you go through and you get to that point and you're still standing, it means that you were the perfect person to experience what you did. And as long as you package, package every single soul currency lessons, the gems, the pearls of wisdom that you gained from going through, looking at yourself, realizing that I walked through this. I walked through this and I'm still standing. Now that is when you gain the real perspective of who you are, why you went through what you went through, and how you can now stand in the moment, in who you are, recognize who you are in this world and who you represent, and you see yourself through a different pair of lens. You see yourself through a different prism of perspective that is completely enlightening and certainly empowering.
I was born with a thorn in my side, a messenger from Satan to torment me. I heard a voice cry out to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for in weakness my power is made perfect.
You're speaking my language. We're not going to speak in tongues here, are we? Oh my God. But see, but without a vision, the people perish. That reminds me of that scripture, right? I would have fainted lest I believed in seeing the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, right? And so the thing is, my mom gave us this vision. I mean, I could not write everything.
Right.
Every experience I had with my mom, I couldn't compose in this book. I had to choose, what I thought was more, just would convey the attributes that she instilled in us. And before she passed, she informed us of this vision that she was given by God about our future. And we thought she was absolutely crazy. We thought, how could you possibly think that we will not have you in this world anymore? How can we move on? How will we possibly get there? But she assured us. And so in those deep, dark moments in the pit of despair, vision lifts you, vision guides you, and he reminds you. That is why that scripture is so perfect. Without a vision, the people perish. You perish without a vision. And that is what I try to convey to my patients, to see what I see in them, because that is in itself a vision. To see what you see about your life, what you cherish about your life, what you see about the legacy that you have built with your family, and the will how you can will that legacy if you are if you're approaching the end of life. Just the things that you can actually, the tangibles and the intangibles, that I don't think we recognize because we don't sit in the moment, and we don't actually we don't go through, the fermentation. We don't go through the actual processing and the filtering, the distillation. We don't go through all of that until we actually have we produce the purity of the lessons and the wisdom. We don't. And so we lose a lot from, we lose a lot if we don't do that.
It seems that it must be both a gift and incredibly difficult to sit with people that are on this journey towards the end of their life. And it seems like you do it a lot. Like, you provide a lot of hope for people. You provide a lot of insight for people. Is it both rewarding and difficult?
It is. It is definitely rewarding and difficult, because in order to provide that level of insight, and in order to dig, in order to understand and convey hope to patients, it means that I need to immerse myself in the experience as well. And so that is difficult, right? But I do not believe that I have a choice. I wasn't meant to have a choice. That is why I was equipped with the experiences aforementioned to do just this. Right? And as you read in the book, you'll see that the path, I could not have fathomed, I could not have planned it any better, right? That is why his plan is the best plan ever. And you could literally think of 10 steps, 12 steps after. Tomorrow I'll do this. Next year, you could have a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan, and it seems perfect. But the way he designed my life, it was divinely ordained. And there is no question in my mind. I never question, even with the adversities, I never questioned that he's absolutely real, because there's no one else who could have written this story. We are a written epistle. We are a walking epistle. He's Alpha and Omega. He knows when he places you in the adversity, when he's walking through it with you. He is very aware of what he placed in you when he sent you on this earth. So he knows you're capable, and he knows that, as you so clearly stated, that you cannot do it on your own. And that is the key. He wants you to depend on him, because his strength is made perfect in our weakness. And when we discover that, because that is the lesson, right? When you discover that, it sets you free. As the scripture says, you shall know the truth. That's the truth. The truth of it is that we really can walk by faith and not by optical vision. We really can. And that is what I try to convey to my patients, that it is not just about the treatment. And we are equipped with the knowledge to treat patients, but the problem is that if we are not addressing the psychological venom, what I call the invisible tumors that are growing along with the physical tumor, then what happens is that it's like a wound that festers and becomes an abscess. If we don't start treating and addressing the psychological toxicity from the beginning, then at the end, it may be an abscess, which then requires a more invasive procedure. So why not infiltrate the mind? Right? Why not infiltrate the mind at the beginning of the process so that we can then apply what I've coined his lamp, which is, hope and the reclamation of identity, the reaffirmation of self-worth. And the lamp is, of course, the reappraisal of life. The A, requited admiration. I admire my patients. They admire me, but I admire them just the same. And they need to know that. M, rehabilitation of the mind. P, reignition of purpose. You would be surprised at how many patients have actually I'm blown away when my patients complete treatment. And I'll just use this example, this anecdotal experience, very recent. Yeah, actually, I had a patient, she completed treatment, and usually I have this whole graduation ceremony, and I'm sure to, I instruct them to sit in the experience. I don't want, because the problem is, as human beings, we want to forget any painful experience. We don't want to process it. We just want to move on, and it's fine to move on. But the problem with that is that we don't gain the soul currency, and we don't learn anything about ourselves. So I counsel them through the treatment, but also after. And we have this big graduation ceremony where I present them with their certificate, and then I explain to them how strong they really are just to walk through this treatment every day. Some of my patients are being treated, George, for 9 weeks, and I see them every week, right? But they're to imagine how difficult life can be with all the responsibilities, etc., and then adding a cancer diagnosis, and adding waking up every morning realizing, oh, that wasn't a dream, it's actually reality. Because we do have those dreams, and we wake up and we're thankful, oh, thank God that was a dream. But for them, it's not, George. And so, but they, every single day, they make the decision to get up and travel for treatment every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes 9 weeks. I don't think that if they're not told how much courage that actually takes, because they're going through the motions. Sometimes for them it's an out of body experience. I don't think they're really thinking about it. They're really just, well, I was told I need to be here, and so I'm here. But someone needs to let them know how we see them. When I wrote that prose, I see you, right? They need to know, because they cannot evaluate what they have actually developed within them, what they have discovered about themselves going through that. They don't know. They literally don't know. And I had a patient this past week. It was so profound. She said to me, she said, Dr. EB, I feel strong. I didn't know I was strong. I don't know. All my life, I've thought there's no way that I could actually handle breast cancer. And when I was diagnosed, I called everyone I knew, who had experienced it. And this is what she was conveying to me. And I said, and how, was that helpful? And she said it was helpful initially, but then she realized that this was her own experience. As I said, you cannot clone it. But when as I told you, I implement his lab, which is as you know, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And so I implement his lamp during the course of my patient's treatment. And at the end, she said, I actually just processing all the elements of his lamp. She's realized that she is stronger than she thought she was. And that's just a revelation. That's, from the oxymorons of life, my channel, revelation from the oxymorons of life, the things that are revealed about us, right? And you know that scripture so well, right? The glory that will be revealed cannot compare. It does not compare, but we have to go through it. We have to go through it. And when I see them in follow-up, there is something about them. Something about them, you can see it in their eyes, that their perspective about life, about the value of a second, a minute, the moment, everything about life, the perspective has changed. They're stronger. They are more aware. There's so many intangibles that they display, and I'm always so proud of them. And we talk, because even in follow-up, we talk about the big C attitudes, his lamb, and we talk about their experiences. We talk about how their family members see them. We talk about how they're employing the soul currencies that they've learned in their everyday life. And so it's just amazing to see them walk through it. It's when it's similar to when you have children and you see them grow up,
Yeah.
right? And you go, I mean, I'm positive that I actually produced you, but it's still amazing to just see you develop into this person, this whole being, with all these attributes that are so admirable. And I'm really always so proud of them. They teach me. I learned so much from my patients, and I definitely I tell them that literally. I mean, I repeat myself constantly. See, I learned so much from them because I realized that whenever they think they can't, whenever you think that there is a mountain that you cannot overcome, there is a valley too deep, right, that somehow you cannot climb out of, there is always a path that you can't see with the naked eye. But if you just take one step at a time, just like my patients do every day for treatment, right? Until the end, all they do is they wake up and they make the decision that they will come for treatment every day. They will present for treatment. That's all they do. One step. But those are huge steps. And they are so absolutely incredible, amazing people. And that's the message I wanted to convey in the book, about how they need to be perceived not only by themselves but by others and their family members, because they need to be portrayed in a way that they understand who they are. I don't know if you know Claire Babineau. She is the CEO of Feeding America, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. It's clearly stated on her website, so it's not, I'm not sharing information that, she was not my patient at all, but it's clearly stated on her website. And she was a Walmart mogul. I mean, she was extremely successful. And when she was diagnosed, she completed treatment. She revisited her true love, her true passion, and realized that she really wanted to not that she wasn't living a meaningful life, but you love this. She wasn't living her true life.
Mm.
Yep, she wasn't living her true life. And so that was the reignition of purpose, right? So that's she gleaned the lesson she needed from that experience. And if it had not been for that experience, she would have never taken stock. She'd
Mm.
have never evaluated, right? Her life. Yeah.
There's this incredible, phenomenal, beautiful artist that wrote this piece. Maybe you'll know who it is. Purpose, primed by passion, is the sweet nectar that neutralizes the bitter state of rejection. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's it's interesting because as I said, I really words are sweet. When words are sweet, words have a taste. Words have a taste. Words give color to context, right? Words. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the fact that you appreciate words and the way that that it is, well, the way that it's placed, the meaning you clearly understand. And it's I'm very meticulous about that, but I can tell you that when I speak with my husband, because my husband has read my book, and he says, well, it I think you probably need to read this prose in particular maybe 5 times to really understand. So I'll write a prose, and I write prose that are not in my book, right? That are not published. And I'll ask him, do you know what I am trying to convey here, right? And he'll read it, say, well, I think this is what you're trying to convey, but there are nuances that you would probably recognize, and I'll explain it to him, and he'll say, oh, well, I didn't really think about it that way, but now that you've explained it to me, he's now
Sure.
it's now he's now enlightened, and it illuminates everything for him. But I have to say, George, that this I was led by him, by the spirit, because to be honest with you, as I mentioned, it was a soul demand. And what I mean by that is a soul demand was placed on me. It was a demand for my inner man to express what he deposited. But it was also a soul demand from others, because their soul demands that wisdom and knowledge that I gained. So I felt the demand, the tug on my soul, right? And so when I was writing the book, I was actually, to be honest, I would read a prose after, and I would say to my husband, I didn't write that. I didn't write that. I was honestly, George, and I know I know you understand. I was, there are certain times when he speaks to you in a way that that it's not you, it's a divine download.
Yeah.
It's a divine download. And that's exactly what it was. Honestly, when 2 a.m., and as I told you, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, divine downloads. And I really truly mean that. And I always state that I cannot take full credit, because he really downloaded that message. And so I could not, this book is not for any other reason but to obey his command. I am being obedient. It's about being obedient to his command. Yes.
Yeah, I almost don't have words for it. I think the fact that you spend so much time seeing the profound changes, and not only seeing the profound changes, but helping the families of the people see the people they love as heroes instead of victims. See, like, look at
Yes.
this transformation they're going through. Like, you're
Yes.
fundamentally changing the perspective of the entire family unit, extended family, even
Yes.
extended family. Like, that's such a
Yes.
profound thing. I love you for that. That's so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. That was one of the goals, so they could see themselves that way, but their family members, and
Yeah.
and then it will touch others. So what my mom taught me was that there are tentacles, right? Or if we think of a tree, first we need to the roots need to be deep, so the foundation, right? Once you have that strong foundation, then the tree grows, and then you have branches, right? And then you have those small branches stemming from the larger branches. And so if you have this huge tree with then many branches from branches, then what happens is that if we think of that in terms of the lives we touch, right? We may not even know the people we're touching, because we have touched this patient, this family member, and then they go on to touch someone else by applying the same soul currencies, and in so doing you're fulfilling your purpose, because he knows exactly who we're connected to, even though we don't, because we are all connected. We are all connected, right? And so it's that was really the goal, and I'm so happy that you actually recognize that, and I'm certainly hoping that anyone who reads the book will gain that message as well, because I'm telling you, those patients, they are heroes indeed. They're my heroes. They are incredible human beings. Facing mortality is one of the most, I mean, imagine, even imagine, you know we're not, we know we're mortal beings, George, but we don't wake up every morning considering that. Do you see what I'm saying? We don't
Yeah.
wake up, we have plans, we make plans, right? And so just that sudden unexpected change, right? That unexpected detour, it is, there are no words to describe how devastating that can be. And yet they are still standing with all of that strength, and we I am honored to get to see that every single every single day. So I'm the one who's blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I really am. And I lose patients, and it's really sad, and the family members. So that's, it just breaks your heart. you know I know I did everything I could, and I know I prayed with them, and I know that hopefully the family members will have gained some of the legacy, and as I say in the book, they can will, right? They can will the lessons that they learned. And I always discuss that with my patients, especially my patients who are end of life. I definitely discuss that with them. And so I think it's difficult, but also to touch people's lives in that manner, I am humbled, because to be chosen to do that and to be equipped to do that, I don't know why he chose me, but I thank God he did. I thank God he did. I really do. I really do. Yeah, I really do.
I, I know you have to go talk to your daughter. So I don't want to let you go. I know, but you know what? You have to come back at some point in time. This is for those just tuning in right now. The book is called The Path to Soul Immunity: Soul Currency for Life in the Big C with Dr. Eby. Just this term soul currency is life changing. I've never thought about everything that I'm going through is soul currency.
It's
It's
all
beautiful.
kind.
What
Yeah.
can you just tell us? How did you come up with that concept of soul currency?
Interesting. So, ah, I can't take credit for that actually. So I was discussing the story about Joseph
Mm.
being thrown in the pit by his brothers, and then going to Potiphar's house, and then, of course, to prison, and then back, and then the whole story. I was explaining that to my sister-in-law, Kim, who
Mm.
died, and I wrote about her in my book. And she didn't grow up in church, right? But she lived with us. We finally convinced her to move from New York to live with us. So she was living with us for about 2 years before she died. And so I saw her a lot. So I would, spend some time in her room. And as I stated, she is the one who created all my designs. My REVOXYLIFE here, this is all hers, her
Yeah.
design. This is how God works. This is how God works, right? And I was discussing the story about Joseph with her, and and then I discussed Moses, and I was explaining to her that the answer to your prayers, is not necessarily directly to you. He answers your prayers by sending someone else. So here they are praying to God, and God is somewhere else speaking to the answer, right?
Right.
And so we need to recognize that, because when I explained to her that, because I juxtaposed the story of Moses and Joseph, because there were adversities in Joseph's life, and then the Israelites were crying and praying, and they didn't think God was answering them, but he was speaking to someone else about the answer. And I was explaining to her that when it seems as if he's doing nothing, he's still doing something. So whenever we think there's nothing moving, if there's nothing happening, he's doing something. And when he's doing something, he's doing something. And when it's nothing, it's still something. It's still something, right? Because he's too strategic, right? Nothing can be taken for granted with him. So I was explaining that to her, and we had really, really deep conversations. And one day she said to me, she said, that's soul currency. That's what she said. And that's the reason I named the book as such. And before she passed, she designed the cover, and the publishers at Success Network and Celebrity Press, they allowed me to to print the cover so that I could present it to her before she passed. So she saw it, and she smiled, and she said, "Oh, I cannot tell you how happy I am." She was so happy, and I'm so happy that I showed it to her before she passed. But yes, she's the one who, yes, I can't take credit for that. She said that's soul currency, and she was very gifted. I mean, the colors and REVOXYLIFE, the whole design. When I explained that I wanted my brand to be, the channel, and she encouraged me to actually. I'm not a social media person at all, and she's been doing for years, says, Sophia, you every time I talk to you, you write all these prose and you need to share them. And she's the one who encouraged me. I mean, I've been writing prose, and I just discuss it with my family, and she really appreciated them. But she had this gift. So she saw this dress, peach and green, teal and white, and this is how she thinks in 3D. So she saw this dress and she designed this from the dress. She saw a dress. This is a dress. But that's the thing, right? So, and then the circle, the REVOXYLIFE, when I explained revelations from the oxymorons of life, she looked at me and she says, I know exactly. I'm looking at this circle and I know exactly how I want to present this. But she's my husband's sister. There are no words to express just how great and astounding he is. I mean, he, as the Bible says, his thoughts are so much higher. There are no words. As much as we think our vocabulary is strong and you appreciate, but when there are no words, there are no words for him to. I mean, he knew that. He even knew that. It's incredible. How can we not believe, George? Honestly, how can we not believe? How can we not believe? Which is why I'm always so adamant about, when my patients at end of life, they are always receptive to prayer. So my question is always, then if we're receptive, then that means we can infuse prayer and spirituality during the course of treatment. Why do we need to wait? We don't have to wait. We don't. We absolutely don't. And they're always receptive. And so when we talk about multimodality treatment, this is a part of the treatment too. And the peace that he gives, I would be selfish and if I did not convey how I came through, right? He brought me through. If I did not share that, the peace that passeth all understanding that my patients actually need, if I don't share that, then I'm sorry. If that's the only thing I do in this life, if that's the only thing I do, then I fulfilled my purpose just by sharing what he gives, right? Because it all goes back to him. All roads lead to him.
It's beautiful. I'm at a loss for words, Dr. Evie. It's so beautiful. I think it's address to address. You know what I mean? Like a dress to someone who addresses the world. You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting to think about.
Thank you. Oh, I would want to just talk to you just in general because, the play on words.
I know.
It's just, you just, And my husband, he just thinks when I talk to my kids, they just think I'm a bit, nerdy, but I just think, and of course you can tell I have logorrhea, right? As in verbal diarrhea. I just keep talking and talking. But honestly, I really appreciate the fact that you actually have dissected the book in such a way that I love the fact that you appreciate it so much, because
I think a lot of people
worry about everyone actually understanding, but understanding what I'm trying to convey, but I have to be who I am
Mm,
and convey it in the manner that is.
right.
I have to be genuine. I have to be authentic. This is the way I think. And as I said, it was a divine download as well. So I have to say it the way that he deposited in me. I have to convey it in that same manner. So, but I really do appreciate the fact that you do. And I really hope it will bless so many, so many
Yeah.
patients, family members, and anyone who needs to hear those words and answer the question, why me?
It's beautiful, and it could be read in so many ways. You could read a few lines of each poem and be fulfilled for a while. You could read the whole poem. You could read the whole book, or you can go back. And I think it's one of those books that you can go back and read, or you'll be triggered from time to time to be remembered of a certain line. But it's beautiful. I'm going to tell everybody I know. I'm
Thank
going to buy
you.
extra copies. I'm going to give them to people. And I
Oh,
recommend
George.
everybody do it. It's a beautiful book. Everybody should
Oh,
have one on their coffee table. So
oh, thank you so
yeah.
much, George. I so appreciate it. I
Okay.
so appreciate it.
I hope that you have a fantastic, beautiful, incredible, gorgeous evening with your family. And I hope they know how lucky they are. And I hope you realize how many people you're helping right now. And I am truly thankful to get to speak to you. And I know you got to go. So I will let you go. But before I let you go, where can people find you? Where can they find your book? And what do you got coming up?
Well, I'm not supposed to reveal what I have coming up
Okay.
right now, but I'll say that you can find me. My website is mydreb.com. That's pretty easy, mydreb. And again, Kim was the one who actually decided my brand, my Dr. EB, because she said, all your patients want to own you, so they say my Dr. EB. So that should be my Dr. EB. So mydreb.com. And of course, I have a channel, REVOXYLIFE, Revelations for the Oxymorons of Life. My book can be found anywhere where books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, etc. So, yep.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed this course in miracles as much as I did, and I
Mhm.
will speak to you soon. And that's all we got for today. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, and Dr. Sophia, thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Hang on one sec. I'm going to talk to you, but I'm going to close this out on the
Okay.
recording here.
Thank you.